What is going on, my guys? We are back with the Late Stoppage Podcast, episode 2. I appreciate all the support on episode 1. If you guys weren't able to check that out, make sure you guys go back, watch that. Make sure I try to link that down in the description. We talked about Terrence Crawford, Canelo, and some other topics, so make sure you guys check out episode 1. But here today, we're going to be focusing on Jake Paul. We got to talk about Floyd Schofield and Christian Mbilli and Deontay Wilder's victory on Friday. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Ian Green, over on Top Boxing News. My guy Ian, what's up?
I'm doing good, Jerry. It was a great weekend of fights. You know, some on Friday, some on Saturday. It was a great weekend of fights. We got a lot to talk about for sure.
Yeah. Kind of action packed. Whenever Jake Paul fights, it's always interesting. It's always going to be something to talk about. So, without further ado, I do want to jump into it. I mean, it's a lot to touch on, because Jake, it's not just performances or who he's fighting. It's a lot of in and out of the ring politics and what's next. How good is he? So, I mean, how did you feel about the fight, man?
The fight was underwhelming. I'm going to leap off with that simply because of the fact Chavez basically didn't throw anything for the first 8 rounds. I hear a lot of people throwing out the word rigged, which I highly doubt. I'm not even going to say I highly doubt. It's not rigged. Like, you can't, if you box, can't really rig a boxing match, but I think Jake knew Chavez is a guy who, sure, he was a former world champion, but that was about 15 years ago, if not more. He knew that he's already lost to Anderson Silva. This was the perfect opponent for Jake Paul, given he has such a big name and so much experience, and it'll be a good notch on the resume. But you won't find a former world champion with Chavez's resume who is at as low of a level as Chavez is right now, who's still somewhat fighting. Jake coasted by the first 8 rounds. I honestly was not that impressed. Didn't seem to do anything except coast by a Chavez who was barely throwing. And in the last 2 rounds, when Chavez decided to get going, he put it on Jake. If it was a 12-round fight, we could be having a much different discussion here. I credit Jake Paul. I credit what he's doing. He puts on great cards. But for a guy who's been in this for, I'd say, about 6 or 7 years now, and he's had access to the highest level training equipment, the highest level coaches, the highest level sparring partners, I would like to see a little more improvement. I'm not going to lie. I was slightly underwhelmed by this performance.
I hear you on the rig part. I think the fights are slightly fixed. I think he's tipping the scale in his favor. I think he is tampering and maybe manipulating. You know what I mean? Like, I got the Chavez Jr. stats right here. Chavez Jr. threw 4 punches in the first round. He connected on 0. In the second, he connected on 2. In the third, he connected 1 punch. The fourth, he connected 4. And then the fifth, he connected on 2. So through the first 5 rounds, he was not able to get over the 10-punch mark. I mean, what the hell were we doing in camp? It's hard for me to watch that and say it's not fixed or something isn't going in Paul's. What are we doing? Like, did we just learn how to block in camp? He did well blocking and taking some punishment on the guard, but I don't know, man. It really underwhelming fight again from Paul. I don't think a lot of his fights have been outstanding in my opinion, but very, very bad look in my opinion. I think Jake Paul needs to make another big move. I feel like he's been in this position before after coming off whoever the hell he beat, and then he was going into the Tyson fight. He needed that Tyson fight. A lot of people were starting to uninvest in his career, and a lot of people really stopped caring about his career. He needed the Tyson fight. I think he's already back in that position where it's like, who's next? I think Jake Paul he's a bit stagnant right now in his career.
So I want to ask you, when I said not rigged, I didn't mean that there could, again, like you said, I didn't mean there couldn't be a little, play here and there. I just meant, like, they don't put in the contract, like, this is how it's going to go and this is how the fight's going to play out.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
Like, and I'm not saying that, like, I don't know. What are you saying when you think it might be a little fixed, I guess I'm asking you?
I don't know, man. I think maybe not fixed, but like you said, he chose Chavez Jr. for a reason. maybe he has some sort of relationship, or he connected with Chavez Jr. and said, look, man, this is how this fight's gonna go. You know, this is what we're gonna do. This is the Jake Paul show. People come to see me. I'm gonna get you your bag, and you're not finna go in there and just beat me up. You're a world champion. You're not finna go in there and beat me up. You're going to abide to the Jake Paul rules, because it's the Jake Paul show at the end of the day.
Is that see now? I do kind of agree with that. I think Jake can have some of a standing power with all the money he's gained. That maybe he can throw a lot of money at these guys and say, "Listen, don't be active. Don't be crazy active. Don't go in there and try and take my head off." I think there can be a level of truth to that necessary. Like, I think they're not going in there being like, you're going to throw this many punches in this round, this many in this round. But I do think
Yeah.
they could do something where it's like, listen, I'm going to be up on the cards. Like, we're going to let me get up on the cards, and then maybe we can do something. Like, maybe you can be, work your way into the fight and take a while to work your way into the fight. I think that is very possible. But I already touched on it. I think Jake picked the perfect opponent where he is at Chavez, speaking on Chavez here, he is at a very low level
Yeah.
for someone who has all of the accomplishments he has and is still somewhat active. Because Jake has fought, former world champions before. He just fought Mike Tyson. And if Mike Tyson was like any sort of being active, even if that was like 2000s Mike Tyson, he would have ripped Jake's head off. So there was obviously the asterisks, and everyone knew going into it, Mike hasn't fought in 20 years. He's basically 60 years old. But Chavez has, I'm not saying he's been an active fighter, but he's fought over the past couple of years multiple times. So I think this was an opponent that fell right in line with Jake Paul's plan. But you just touched on it. I think Jake has done a good job at having a story for every one of his fights and still making the fight winnable. His pro debut was against another YouTuber. That, he's a YouTuber boxer getting into it, fair. Next fight is against an athlete. The story is, Nate Robinson's a real athlete. I don't know if Jake Paul can beat him. He beats him, then he fights Ben Askren. Oh, Ben Askren, he's an actual fighter. Like, Jake Paul might not be able to beat him. He beats him. Tyron Woodley, next. Tyron Woodley's an actual striker. Like, he might not be able to beat him this time. Beats him. Anderson Silva. Oh, Anderson Silva's one of the greatest strikers of all time. He's more primarily with his hands. Beats him. Then he fights, I think it was Tommy Fury right after that. Loses. Probably because it was a somewhat active, undefeated boxer. Then fights Nate Diaz, which is sort of a recoverment fight, but still against a big name. And then he fights Andre August and Ryan Borland, who are two, in their best of their best prime. They could maybe pick up like the most regional of regional titles there is. And Jake catches them at the end of their career and just uses his youth, athleticism, and whatever experience he has over them. Okay, now he's beating real boxers. And it seemed like he wanted to go down that route of more of a traditional guy who's, not fighting the best competition, but fighting real boxers. I think he saw that wasn't really going to sell as a guy with a big a name as Jake Paul. That Ryan Borland fight ended up being the main event, but that was supposed to be a co-main event. That was supposed to be Jake Paul's first co-main event preceding an Amanda Serrano fight in Puerto Rico. And then he says, okay, it's Mike Tyson. This is going to make me all the money in the world. I have to make the Mike Tyson fight. And obviously it sells because it's Mike Tyson. It sells off the name that it's Mike Tyson. But we see there that we overrated Mike Tyson. He was 60 years old. We should have saw it coming. He's not going to be able to do anything to a guy as young as Jake Paul, who has the slightest bit of experience in boxing. And now he goes in there and fights a former world champion. And I just said it. Chavez is probably the lowest level former world champion that's still somewhat active. So I am very curious to see what Jake will do next, because I think he's running out of stories to really sell these fights.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to ask you, how many perfect opponents are there left? Now, you did forget, my boy, the bare knuckle guy. He did fight that bare knuckle guy. What's the kid's name?
Mike Perry. But again,
Yeah,
that
he
was
fought Mike
that was
Perry.
because Mike Tyson pulled out of their first fight because he
Oh, okay.
had a
Okay.
health issue on the airplane. So I don't
Okay.
really. There wasn't much of a story there. It was kind of just a filler, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
But even back on, it's a real boxing match, but it's not intense, right? The Tyson fight wasn't intense. Jake Paul probably could have stopped Tyson in the second or third round. I'm gonna be honest. Like, he was battering Tyson. Tyson 60, man. Like like I said, I don't want to say it's not a real boxing match, but it is. It lacks intensity. It feels like it's toned down a bit. It feels like it's. I don't know, man. It's PG. You know when you watch a Jake Paul fight that you're not gonna see that fight go to that place where a guy's on the canvas, a guy's having to dig deep and really have to go in there and earn it. But I do agree. Like Jake has did amazing building in the stories. He's been amazing finding that quote unquote perfect opponent. I feel like he's running short of those perfect opponents. But like I said in my video, Jake is a his career is a question. He's selling the question. He's selling the suspense. Jake is a horror movie where you're just waiting for that jump scare. You're waiting for that. I don't know. You ever seen A Quiet Place?
Yes. Yeah.
The first one.
Yeah.
You remember the nail in the stairs,
Yeah.
and you're just waiting for somebody to step on the damn nail. That's Jake Paul's career. The suspense of him losing, first of all, and can he be a world champion? Can he be a world class contender? The suspense is what sells. How long can he keep people hooked in and engaged? I don't know. But I do want to transition into the topic of him fighting world champions. You got to get that? You good?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. But the topic of him fighting world champions and him calling out Zurdo, Badu, Jack, all these guys, he's not, stop it. Because that kills the suspense, because these guys are going to knock him out in the first round, out cold in the first three, I would say, if I wanted to be generous. And then the suspense is killed. We've seen you lose. We've seen you knocked out. And we can understand now, comprehend to the fullest that you are not a world-class fighter. You are not a world champion. It's no point in fighting Zurdo. He can make the money of the Zurdo fight fighting the guy he just fought, Chavez Jr.
I agree. I do think he is, that I'll be honest. That is mainly why I tune into Jake Paul fights. I want to see him lose.
Yeah.
He plays the heel well. I want to see him lose. And to an extent, he's doing what Floyd Mayweather was doing, where you tune in to see them lose most of the time. The difference is, Floyd Mayweather was doing it against world-level fighters every time, guys who legitimately had a chance to do it. Jake's starting to run out of guys who can be intriguing and still have a chance to beat him. I think, he called out Zurdo, who fought on the card, and Badu Jack. First of all, I think he's not calling out one of the cruiserweight champions, Jaya Pataya, for a reason. I think it's best for Jake's safety that he doesn't mention Jaya Pataya's name, so we'll move on from that. Zurdo, pretty much the same thing. Zurdo runs through Jake Paul. Badu Jack is probably the lowest level champion of cruiserweight.
Yeah.
Still stops Jake, in my opinion. I don't think there's really a question from any of those three cruiserweight champions. He called out Anthony Joshua too, which I don't know why he is doing that. Sure, it's a big fight, but I think that is, in my opinion, that's the least amount of chance he has. I would run away from that. And where I will give Jake credit is the momentum should have been killed in February of 2023 when he lost to Tommy Fury. He has done a great job at building himself back up and making himself a pay-per-view star again. You were talking about the momentum, people waiting for him to lose, and I agree, but he already lost and he's still gaining our attention. I think one more loss and it's really, it's going to be, we're going to really be like, all right, we're done watching him. He's clearly not the level we're on. If I had to pick the perfect next fight for Jake Paul, it would be the Tommy Fury rematch, because since their fight, Tommy is at a fight with KSI, which he arguably lost, looked worse than he did in the Jake fight, was off for 2 years and just returned in Dubai maybe, or some country like that. He did not look good winning against a no-name. I think that's a lot more of a favorable matchup now for Jake than it was when they originally fought. And I think that's a really good way to get yourself back on track, because people will be like, oh, well, you lost to Tommy Fury. I just beat him in a rematch. So if I had to pinpoint the perfect next opponent for Jake, it would be Tommy Fury.
Okay, I was going to ask you, I was like, if Ian had to play matchmaker, who would it be? Obviously, Tommy Fury is one of those guys. He's probably at the top of the list. I was thinking about it. Vander Holyfield. He's an older guy. He has the name. Holyfield fought back in 23,
Holyfield
22.
Holyfield fought. I'm pretty sure it was Vitor Belfort.
Yeah.
I have horrible memories of that day. Me and my dad, who was the biggest Evander Holyfield fan, tuned into that one and watched Holyfield get blasted out in one round with horrible. So I think if that was to be made and they do announce that and it gets announced Jake Paul's fighting Evander Holyfield, I think in a heartbeat everyone would go look at that fight and be like, oh, what are we doing? Like Holyfield has no chance. And I think we lost intrigue with that one after the Mike Tyson fight because Mike Tyson is another heavyweight from that era who fought against Jake and it was a horribly unentertaining fight. So I don't think there would draw much intrigue from the Holyfield fight. Now there is one that has been in discussion, and I think it was supposed to happen until a little blemish on the resume halted it, but it still could happen later this year. Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis. This is a very, very big fight, whether we like it or not. Even as much as we would hate Gervonta taking it, it will garner both guys a lot of money, and it's been revealed that they've been in discussions to take it. I know there's a huge weight difference. Jerry, who do you think wins that fight?
Before I answer that, another sleeper pick, just throwing it out there. Roy Jones. What about Roy and Paul? That'd be dope.
That I
Roy and
think
Paul.
Roy, out of all those older guard guys, would have the best chance in because Roy has actually been fairly active. He still boxes. I'm not going to say pretty often, but I think Roy would definitely draw some intrigue. I think Roy would definitely draw some intrigue. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think Roy has ever officially retired. I don't know.
I don't think he has either. I think it was either one. It might have been just a year ago. He fought a UFC fighter in Milwaukee, I think it was. So yeah, for an older guy, I think Roy is still active. I think he could present Jake some trouble.
But well, on the subject of Tank and Paul, I'm going Paul, man. Tank is he's a little man. He's 130, soaking wet. He's a super featherweight. I don't even want to give him the title of lightweight. He's a super featherweight. Paul is so much larger. I mean, what is the win scenario for a guy, 5'4", to go? What could he hurt him? Could he even reach his jaw? I don't know. I'm going Paul on that one kind of confidently.
Wow, I guess I haven't really thought that far into how the fight would play out. I'm man, because you're right. There is such a huge size difference. I think Tank is a really good technical boxer. Obviously, levels above Jake. I think if Jake were to land clean on Tank, it would I'm not going to say immediately shut the lights out, but being such a bigger guy, if he lands on Tank, I think Jake would probably win the fight if he can land a big punch on him. But do you think Tank has the ability to use his boxing skill to maneuver around the ring, slip in, land some punches, slip
Yeah.
out? I don't know if Tank has the ability to hurt him because it's obvious Tank is a huge puncher. That's at 135. Jake fights at 200 pounds. Jake's probably, naturally almost 100 pounds bigger than Gervonta Davis. Do you think even if Tank can't hurt him, he could move around for however many rounds that fight would be and outbox him? And do you think Tank could hurt Jake at all? I think he might have a chance at hurting him to the body if he lands like a fully winded up shot to the body, or I don't know. It's a very
Weird.
You know what?
It's
This
weird.
is what Jake's good at. It's a very intriguing fight, whether we like it or not. I just don't know
Yeah.
if Tank can hurt him. Tank can hurt him. I don't know if he can, and I'd like to think Tank has the ability to move around the ring and outbox him, but all it takes is one. I don't know. That fight is wow.
Man, Tank has the ability to move around the ring and outmaneuver Jake. It's going to be hard to get his offense off against a guy that large who could not end the fight with one shot, maybe not, but I'm not saying that's off the table, but a guy who could drastically change not just the fight, but the entire career of Gervonta Davis. One shot from Jake Paul could end his career for the most part, from being a, national superstar phenomenon to the guy who lost to Jake Paul, the first pro boxer or legit boxer who lost to Jake Paul. So it's gonna be hard for Tank to outmaneuver and outbox him. I think he has the footwork, speed, agility, and talent to stay away, but to transition towards the inside and get his offense off is going to be extremely difficult. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't think Tank could hurt him. Like Tank, it's gonna be hard to hurt a man that is 200 plus pounds, especially when they are actively boxing, right? Jake, whether you want to say it or not, he's getting punched in the face, he's sparring, and he's fighting bigger guys. Like a guy on the street, yeah, Tank could hurt a 200-pound guy on the street. But a guy who is accustomed and, now a bit more settled into taking punishment from larger guys, it's a terrible fight for Tank. It's nothing much he can gain. You want money, hell, Turkey will give you money. You could have made a bunch of fights at 35, 40. Even if you wanted money that bad, you could move up into 47. So it's like, what is the win scenario for Tank, not only in the ring but outside the ring, financially and for his career? What does it do for you?
Yeah, it is. It's kind of worrisome that Tank has been in discussions for that fight because I think that fight is so high risk and little to no reward. The money's there, but you're not going to get any credit for beating Jake Paul. Sure, people will be like, Jake Paul finally got knocked out, but like, it's a world level boxer in Gervonta Tank Davis. I feel like if Tank wins, people will overlook the weight and just be like, Jake can't outbox Tank. In my opinion, if Tank can't hurt Jake, it is hell in that ring against Jake Paul. Not because of Jake's skills, but just because Tank would have to have very good stamina. He would have to train well because he would have to be moving around that ring constantly, moving in and out, landing shots to rack up the points. And if he can't hurt Jake, Jake is going to be moving forward, throwing big shots. I'm not saying he's going to land one because Tank has proved very slippery and he has some solid defense. But I just think Tank would be forced to think so much and move so much that it is hell. It's not an easy fight. And I know Jake hasn't fought anyone of any real threat to this point. But when he has been hit, he's never been dropped. He got rocked against the ropes once against Tyron Woodley, but he ate big shots from Tommy Fury. He ate, I think he ate one left hook from Mike Tyson. He ate some shots from Tyron Woodley. He ate a lot of shots against Chavez Jr. in round 9 and 10. I don't know if I can necessarily pick a winner at this point just because it's such an intriguing and, two completely different styles and fighters clashing. But I will say, if Tank can't hurt Jake, can't pose any real threat to him, it's going to be hell. And Jake will move forward and be constantly looking to land a big shot. So if I'm Tank, I am not taking that fight because if Tank loses, say goodbye to boxing. If you lose to Jake Paul and you're Tank Davis, say goodbye.
Man, Floyd Schofield, Tevin Farmer. I actually put it in a parlay this week, and I've been taking a step back from my betting habits, but this weekend I put in a parlay, and I was really confident about Tevin Farmer and Schofield going to decision. I opened up X and I seen it. I didn't watch the fight live. I opened it. It said Schofield round 1. What a statement, right? This is a kid, in comparison to his peers, Abdullah Mason, Carmel Moulton. He's probably the least known, right? I at one point was giving him pretty much no chance at beating Abdullah, especially at the rate Abdullah is moving at. What a way to push yourself back to the forefront in some aspects and kind of say, I'm still here. I'm taking the biggest risk. I'm beating a guy who's ranked. He was ranked 8th in the division. I'm beating a guy who Zepeda couldn't even, I don't think Zepeda knocked Farmer down one time, and he stopped him in one. What a statement by such a young kid. I think after such an amazing performance by Schofield, Kid Austin, I want to tip the needle not just back closer to Schofield's side, but maybe in Schofield's favor against Abdullah Mason right now. I'm curious on how you feel about this. Am I overdoing it? Do you want to see more from the kid, or what's next?
No, yeah, just like you, I was picking Tevin Farmer to win. I had my friends over for the, boxing / UFC fights, And I put this fight on, and I said, this Floyd Schofield, Kid Austin guy, he was supposed to fight Shakur in February. He pulled out because of his sickness. People weren't very happy. Before that, he fought Rene Tejas Garon in November, who was not a very popular guy, and Kid Austin got dropped. And I told them, this is a fight where the up-and-coming guy might be the underdog. Tevin Farmer had just come off two great performances against William Zepeda, who was the boogeyman. And Tevin Farmer kind of took the boogeyman name from him. Excuse me. William Zepeda was knocking out everybody, was being relentless. And in November, Tevin Farmer knocked him down in their first fight and then arguably won the second fight in Mexico. Before the two Zepeda fights, Tevin Farmer went life and death with Raymond Murataya, who is now a lightweight world champion. Floyd Schofield had no momentum in his favor, and Tevin Farmer had all the momentum in his favor. Schofield had never gone up against a guy even near the level that Farmer was at. And I told my friends, I'm picking Farmer to win. This will be one where the prospect gets upset by the gatekeeper who's, still solid. And then about a minute into the fight, just a jab, little overhand right hook sends Farmer into orbit. I mean, Farmer was out of it. He got up, went right back down, got up, and the fight was over. I think this might be the biggest statement made this year. After Schofield pulled out of that Shakur fight in February, and many people were saying, you faked it. You were never going to get in the ring with Shakur. You could not do anything better than what he just did. I would love to see the Shakur fight get rebooked. But talking about Floyd Schofield versus Abdullah Mason, Abdullah Mason has never had a performance that good against someone of that level. I think we can say that comfortably. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean Schofield will win. Schofield has shown flaws in past performances, like getting dropped November against Rene Tejas Garon.
Yeah.
But I was probably, honestly, not to sound harsh, I was probably 75-25, 80-20 in favor of Abdullah Mason. It's 50-50 now, if not maybe slightly leaning in Schofield's favor. I just am baffled at what he just did to Tevin Farmer during that whole night. Throughout whatever fights happened on the boxing card and the UFC card, I could not get off my mind that Floyd Schofield absolutely decimated a former world champion, Tevin Farmer, inside 2 minutes. It was a shocking performance for me, and Floyd Schofield just put himself right back on track to get a huge fight next, and I think it's well deserved. And seeing him emotional after the fight, I was happy for him. I think that's a great performance, a great knockout. And if you want my honest opinion, I would love to see the Shakur Stevenson fight get booked for him next.
Yeah, it's a bit more intriguing after that performance. Like you say, he was emotional. He's a great kid, man. I love the kid. I love his father. His father's growing on me. Schofield Sr., he's a great guy as well. Farmer was a bit emotional as well. Both two great guys that had a really great moment after that fight. So shout out to both of them. Shout out to Farmer for giving the kid the opportunity to, kind of work his way in his career. But in terms of making a statement, in an era of boxing where everybody's on the phone typing, shout out to the kid, man. That's how you do it, right? You're going through a slump in your career. You get dropped in November. You pull out the Shakur fight. Everybody's saying, "Oh, you were scared. You ducked this, that." Even he said it was getting to him a lot of comments he was receiving on social media. That's how you do it. And I'm talking to Keyshawn Davis right now. That's how you do it. Because Keyshawn, your stock is absolute. I was going to say it. It's not good right now. Your stock is really bad. That's how you do it. Look at Devin Haney. We'll talk about him later this week on a separate episode. That's how you do it. When your stock is in the drain, you get off Twitter, you get in the gym, you take the tough fights, you show everybody who you are. Schofield, beautiful. I couldn't ask for anything better. I thought it was a tough fight. It was a fight I was really, really favoring Farmer in. He shut everybody up, and all you could do is respect the kid. Like I said, I'm really putting an emphasis. I'm really pressing Keyshawn Davis to maybe give us something similar. Something we got to wait and see, though. I'm always here for the tough fights, though. So, overall, great for Schofield. Abdullah's, what is he, looking towards Sam Noakes, right? He said it was getting to him a lot of comments he was receiving on social media. That's how you do it, right? You're going through a slump in your career. You get dropped in November. You pull out the Shakur fight. Everybody's saying, "Oh, you faked it. You were never going to get in the ring with Shakur." You could not do anything better than what he just did. I think
Yeah, they. I don't know if they officially ordered it. They might have, but him and Sam Noakes for the vacant WB, or
Mm.
him versus Sam Noakes for the vacant IBF title will more than likely happen next.
It's not the IBF. It's WB, all right.
No, because I think.
Moritaya's
Oh yeah,
IBF.
Murtai's IBF. My
Okay,
mistake. Yeah,
yeah.
that'll probably be booked for the vacant WBO. Yeah.
So Abdullah, great fight for Abdullah. Sam Noakes is a really tough fighter out of the UK, I believe. But Schofield and Abdullah looks really good. Maybe early next year. Probably not this year, but the Shakur fight's still intriguing. Uh, I'm really happy for the kid. I love the guy. He's a great guy.
Yeah, I guess I jumped the gun. I think I was pointing at the Shakur fight because I thought with a performance like that, Kid Austin, Floyd Schofield deserved a title shot. But I did forget Abdullah's about to fight for a title, and I'll favor him in that fight. Again, it's not an easy fight. Sam Noakes is good. But if Abdullah is to pick up the title, I actually would like to see Schofield versus Abdullah because I do think Schofield deserves a title shot after a performance like that over such a high level guy. And I just want to emphasize again, you cannot write that better just based off what Tevin Farmer had done recently. Raymond Murataya is currently champion, and Farmer fought him in July of 24, and there were people that thought Farmer won that fight. Farmer fought William Zepeda, who was an undefeated knockout artist, the boogeyman at 135. He fought him in November. People thought Farmer won that fight. He rematched Zepeda again in Mexico in March. People thought Farmer won that fight.
Yeah.
I thought this was finally gonna be Farmer's finally gonna fight one of these, up and coming guys, and he's finally gonna get a decision, and he'll put himself in good position. And man, just like I said, it was all I could think about on the night, and I'm still thinking about it. Floyd Schofield, all the credit to you. Couldn't have had a better performance, and I think he deserves a title shot next.
And man, I'm looking at it here, man. He's a great veteran, right? The guy's 43 fights into his career. He's a great veteran. Um, and like I said, I appreciate him giving Schofield the opportunity to building on his career. But damn, man, four in a row. He's dropped his last four, and he got stopped in the first. You got to kind of reevaluate your career and where you go from here, because man, that is bad. That is bad. That was
And I think I
the
saw him. Yeah,
third time he's been stopped.
yeah. I think I saw him post on Instagram today too. The first statement since the loss, and I read the caption. I didn't see any. We'll be back. So I'm not saying he's gonna retire, but if he wants to get back into the fights he's been in, it's tough. It's a tough position to be at if you're Tevin Farmer.
But man, it's boxing is an economy, right? Everybody can be world champion. Everybody can be the best, right? Everybody can be a billionaire, millionaire. So guys like Tevin Farmer is what keeps the economy pumping, right? So kicking the ladder down for the next guy to climb up. I talked about that with John Jones and how I was disappointed with John and not being able to do that for Aspinall. But guys like Farmer, you've served your purpose, dog. I'm gonna be honest. I love you.
Mm-hmm.
You had a pretty, in terms of the grand scope of boxing, you were world champion. So you had a great career. Um, I don't think there's anything left for the guy. Like, if there's no ladder to really kick down for the next guy, the stock in Farmer right now is pretty low. He'll probably get kicked out of the top 10 rankings. Like I say, he's dropped his last four. I don't want to see him make it five. Um, Nonetheless, a great guy. But that's all I have for the Schofield Farmer fight. I did want to what were we talking about? Was it Tay? Yeah, Tay Wilder.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you had anything else you wanted to touch on there.
No, I mean, I just, yeah, just Tevin deserves his flowers. He lost his first pro fight. He's been
Yeah.
shot in the hand. He has Tourette's. He lost his first pro fight, and he still became world champion. So I still think, even with the loss, he deserves all the credit in the world. He seems like a great guy, and he had his time as world champion. It seems he served his purpose as a gatekeeper. I don't think anyone would blame him if he hung it up. Just a really credible and admirable career. I just want to let that be known that he's a true underdog comeback story, and no matter what happened in the fight this past Saturday, he's he's a great fighter and seems like a great man too. So I just want to give him his flowers.
But another guy I'm really high on. I wanted to pull up his resume here. But another guy I was really high on who kind of had somewhat of a similar career was Ugas, man. Ugas was never the best. You could argue he was never top five at the 47 division, but he kicked the ladder down. He allowed guys to climb up and kind of make their name off of him. And you need guys like that. Like I'm looking at, he fought Porter, he fought Pacquiao, Spence, Barrios. He had his run-ins with a lot of great welterweights at the time. He was the kind of the heart and soul of that division. You need guys like that in boxing. You need guys to kick the ladder down, keep the money and the economy circulating to some degree. But that's all I have for that topic. I do want to touch on Tay Wilder and disappointed, man. Disappointed in Tay. Um, I was one of the few guys who didn't believe Tay had to retire. You know, he lost to top 10 guys. He lost to Fury, who was number one, the lineal WBC champion. He lost to Parker. Parker's a great boxer. And he lost to Zhang. Zhang, also a great top 10 guy. After this fight, not the same. He's 39. He turns 40 in October. It's like, damn, man. I think one more, maybe one more, and that's pushing it. Maybe Paul. I've seen people say Paul Wilder. I've seen Wilder come out and say he wants to do one more, and then maybe Joshua. I don't know. Get your money, get out the sport. I was highly disappointed in the bout. Deontay Wilder has never been a great fundamental boxer, but he looked. He didn't. It looked bad, man. It looked really bad. I was disappointed.
Yeah, I watched the fight live, and just before the episode today, I watched the highlights back again just to refresh my memory. It's sad. It's
Yeah.
sad seeing a guy who lit up the heavyweight division and lit up American boxing. Today, the American heavyweight scene is somewhat non-existent, and a guy like Deontay Wilder 5 or 6 years ago was lighting it on fire. And I in this fight, I will say I saw a bit more of an arsenal than what we've seen before. He was flicking the jab out there nice. I think I saw a pull counter at one point, which we've never seen from Wilder. I saw an uppercut, which we rarely see. I saw maybe a little more combination punching, which it's good to see that, he still is trying to improve at this age, and he's still, adding wrinkles to his game when his game didn't have a lot of wrinkles when he first came into it. It's just too little too late. The age, the miles on the clock, he can do all the improving he wants, but the body deteriorating, the speed, hopefully not the power, but maybe the power will deteriorate. You don't have a choice over that. And it's too late in his career for him to develop some crazy, skills, which is sad to see. I know he got the stoppage, and on paper, oh, Deontay Wilder's back with a knockout, but if you watch the fight, it was nowhere near your typical Deontay Wilder knockout performance. And Wilder, a guy who has been so charismatic, seems like a great guy, has been such a great talker. I don't want to see him go through another, Zhang Zhang type of knockout loss, second Tyson Fury fight type of knockout loss, third Tyson Fury fight type of knockout loss. He's cashed in more than he should have. A guy that started boxing at his age and had pretty much no experience when he did. He had no experience at 20 and won a bronze medal in the Olympics.
Yeah, crazy.
That is insane. That should be applauded. And then had an outstanding pro career. He had an outstanding pro career. He cashed in. He did it for his daughter. He's got the money that he needed, and he's gotten so much more on top of it. He's had the big fights. I think, as sad as it makes me to say it, I think his time is done. And I know he wants one more, and I wouldn't hate that, cash in one more time. If it's an AJ fight or if it's a Jake Paul fight, two fights that would absolutely break the bank for him, do it. Go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
But I can't watch this Wilder for much longer, and I do not want to see a guy who who came into boxing who needed the money, and he made all the money in the world he could have made and then some. I want to see him take from boxing. I want to see him get the money and get out good. I don't want to see him keep taking beatings. And, I don't want boxing to take anything out of Deontay Wilder. I want Deontay Wilder to leave boxing on his own terms. And the performance last Friday just
Yeah,
kind of clarified what we were all thinking. And maybe one more, but I think it's more than likely time to hang it up.
man, really, really dark episode today. It's kind of really dark. Like, hey, but man, I feel you. Like, he's gave so much, and he fought in a pre-Turkey era, and he made 3 really big fights with Fury. He's given so much. I would like to see him take a bit more. I like Tay. Like you said, Paul, Joshua, and if it was up to me, I would say get out the sport now. But if he wanted to do Paul Joshua, then leave. Like the lack of experience to get the bronze is insane. I can't remember off the top of my head, but one of the few heavyweights to get 10 plus title defenses. Not many. I don't even think Fury racked up 10.
Not even
Obviously,
close.
not even Usyk, obviously. Very few. We're talking Ali, we're talking the Klitschko's, the Larry Holmes, Joe Lewis's. Like, Deontay Wilder sits at that pedestal. He sits at a table of very prestigious names. So he's done it. I've seen a lot of people question his Hall of Fame status. Deontay Wilder is absolutely a Hall of Famer. The guy, like I said, the 10 plus title defenses at heavyweight already gives him that big check mark to sneak his way in. I'm not even gonna say sneak, kick the door down into the boxing Hall of Fame. So I think a lot of you guys forgot who Mr. Tay Wilder is. He's a great boxer at one point, great fighter, right? But I would like to see him give it up, man. Maybe one more. Just maybe one more. That's all I really had to say about Tay. I hope he can get the big fight he's looking for. I know he was dealing with a lot of issues outside the ring that I don't want to touch on because not fully informed on what was going on with him. So maybe he is in need of some financial help. I can't remember quite what happened with him last year, but one more. There's one more. I would like to see him knock out Paul. That'll be the perfect way to go out, just to knock out against Paul. I think he could knock out Jake Paul. I would favor Deontay Wilder heavily in that fight, honestly.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about the retirement anymore. We've talked about it, He should probably retire. I think that's a known thing. But let's get into he's made it clear, this matchmaking against Tyrell Herndon made it clear that they're setting up one more big fight. And I think it's going to be against Anthony Joshua. I think Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua have strategically waited until this fight to really decide a next move. And I think this very well could be next. I thought one thing during the Deontay Wilder fight, and that was, has he lost any of the power? Because he was landing right hands. The stoppage was a huge right hand, but it didn't look like it had Herndon that hurt or that out of it or that wallowed. It was just, he had landed so much, he'd done so much damage, the ref kind of just stepped in. Do you think Wilder has lost, we always say power's the last thing to go. Do you think Wilder's lost some of that power in his right hand?
For sure. Watch the Parker fight back. Watch the Zhang fight, right? He lost it for sure. There's no question about it. Power is the last thing to go. I think it's the instinct, man. It's the instinct. He doesn't have the instinct to. It's gonna sound crazy. Deontay tapped out of it when he knocked. What's the guy? Helenius.
Yep.
I think that took a lot out of him. That really hurt the guy. Yeah, as like Deontay Wilder was known to be this just relentless force in the division. Like, he just said, "Oh, I could legally kill somebody and get paid for it. Oh yeah, sign me up every day of the week." To the guy, look at the character development of Wilder, man. From that guy to the guy crying for his opponent who was stopped, man. I think the instinct left with that Helenius fight, man. Sucks to see it, but it's a very rare instance that a win could take a guy sort of out of his prime. Very, very rare.
Yeah, you're right. After the Helenius fight, it was such a stellar eye-catching performance. But in the post-fight press conference, Wilder was very emotional,
Yeah.
showing tons of empathy towards Hellenius. And yeah, you're right. Like since that fight, we haven't seen the same in the ring and outside of the ring. I know he still streams Bomb Squad, but we haven't seen the same guy who, says, I want a body on my record, I wanted to kill somebody in that ring. And I'm not saying you know, in the fight, I want that same guy because that's the exciting, Deontay Wilder we want. But I'm not entirely mad that, he's not that guy anymore. I'm not going to speak on the man's personal life, obviously, but it seems that he has calmed down as a person. And I don't know. I think you've touched on the character development. He's not a guy that, wants to kill somebody now. It seems he's more of a relaxed, toned down guy, which is fine. It's just in the boxing space, it's a brutal sport. You can't have that empathy, and still be the same guy you were. So I think mentally and physically, he's not the same guy. And yeah, it may not even be that he doesn't have the power in that right hand anymore. It may be that he doesn't have the wherewithal to, find the moment, find the shot and throw it with 100%, force. And he's slowing down. And I think something with that Wilder right hand was he would be getting outboxed. He'd be getting outboxed by the guys he was fighting, and he'd land that right hand. And the right hand obviously had a ton of power, but the reason he was able to sneak it in against such good boxers was because of the speed he had on it. He could sneak it by guys without them knowing because it was so fast. And I don't think it's a secret that he has lost some of that speed. And I'm going to be honest, in an Anthony Joshua fight, I don't give Wilder much of a chance, sadly. Anthony Joshua doesn't have a great chin, but it looks like Deontay Wilder doesn't have the same power he once did. And he definitely doesn't have the same chin he once did. Not even saying that he ever had a granite chin. But he's been hurt recently, and yeah, I feel like in a Jake Paul fight, I would favor Wilder, but if Deontay Wilder goes out with a KO loss to Jake Paul, I don't know. I would not be able to sleep at night. I almost don't want to see him take that fight just for the sole reason that there's a possibility that Jake Paul could end the career of Deontay Wilder. It's one thing for Jake Paul to beat Mike Tyson, but we have the asterisks of, Tyson was basically 60. If it was in the prime, Tyson would have knocked him out. And that's obviously true.
Yeah.
And I know Wilder's still out of his prime, but if Jake Paul is to beat him, people are going to look at the boxer and say, Wilder was fighting. He just got to win. And then he lost to Jake Paul. In 20 years, people will be like, Jake Paul beat Deontay Wilder. He beat Deontay Wilder. We know he didn't beat the Deontay Wilder if that were to happen, but
Yeah.
man, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if Jake beat Wilder. I don't know. It's a more winnable fight than the Joshua fight, but I don't know. I know he wants one more fight, but I rarely want to see a guy who is so electric and, exciting go, but I wouldn't hate if he hung it up at all. I wouldn't hate it at all.
Man, I would like to see Wilder make his last go around. I would like to see Wilder transition into more of a mentor to a lot of the young American heavyweight boxers. Now, Wilder, like I said, never been a technical genius. You never see Wilder just go out there and outbox somebody, but Wilder knows how to negotiate and navigate and network, and he's experienced. He's had a really successful career in the grand scope of boxing. So I would like to see him be more of a mentor to some of these American heavyweights. It's quite astonishing how he was able to kind of, I don't want to say pass by, but hide his lack of boxing fundamentals behind his powerful right hand. You could teach that to a lot of American heavyweight guys. Like, look, we're in the heavyweight division. You don't have to be well-rounded. You can hide a big hole, a big gap in your game with certain, different aspects, right? And that applies to any division, but especially in the heavyweight division. You can, cover up a leaky patch in your defense with a strong left hook or a good lateral movement or something like that. So I would like to see Wilder transition into more of a mentor for guys like Jared Anderson. Jared Anderson, another guy who's young and really emotional, and I want to see the best for him as well. So I'd like to see Wilder and him kind of touch base and maybe not obviously not train the guy, but be sort of a mentor for him. That'd be dope in my opinion.
Yeah, no matter what it is he does, I think, we see so many cases of guys who, retire then unretire because they can't stay out of boxing. Boxing's their life. I would love to see Wilder stay in the sport in a way that's not fighting. Whether you just said it, it's mentoring fighters, maybe even training fighters, or being in the commentary booth, or just he is so good
Yeah,
and so good for the boxing world. So exciting the way he talks. He's such an eye catching character. I would love to see him stay in the boxing world somehow. And he's had such a great career. He's such a legend that I think a guy like him, it would be great if he stayed in the sport somehow. Kept his involvement in it somehow. But yeah, either retire or one more and retire. But I would love to see a guy like Wilder stay in the sport. I really would.
yeah. Even like Golovkin, I think Golovkin he's tied to Kazakhstan's Olympic team. I think even Wilder, if he wanted to help out the Olympic team, and obviously not head trainer, but
Mm-hmm.
mentoring the guys. A lot of those guys are amateurs, and they probably fall on the national scale. A lot of those amateurs haven't fallen on the international scale. Kind of walk them through the stage and process because the Olympics could be very overwhelming for a lot of those younger kids at 18, 19, up to maybe even 24 even. It could be overwhelming. I think Tay Wilder, there is a spot for him in boxing. Somebody of his stature and his legendary status, there's a spot for him, like you said, whether in the commentary booth, whether being a mentor for the professional guys, the amateur Olympic guys. Tay Wilder, big personality, amazing character, amazing overall guy. From what I've seen, I would love to see him stay in boxing, but that's pretty much all I have about Tay. I'm very vocal about Tay. I like Tay a whole lot. Um, is there anything else you want to share? You want to get straight into Mbilli?
Um, I would like to touch on Zurdo for a second. He fought on the
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
he fought on the Jake Paul card and fought Uniel Dorticos, who used to be the man at cruiserweight. He at one point in time, Dorticos was nicknamed the KO Doctor. I thought he was had no real chance in this fight given his age. Doricos showed out a little, especially in those early rounds. He still looked like he had something in the tank, but Zurdo obviously scrapes by and gets the decision victory. I just want to make it known that if Zurdo and Jai does not happen next, then we've got a serious issue on one man's side. That is in a division that has been as lackluster as cruiserweight, and I mean that with no offense to the fighters. I think the fighters at the top of cruiserweight are very good fighters, but a division that hasn't seen a lot of eyes, a lot of pay-per-view making fights. I'm not saying Giant Zurdo would headline a pay-per-view in today's age. I think if it goes over there in Saudi, I don't know if it headlines. Maybe it does. It's a big fight between two big guys, but this needs to happen. This would be the biggest fight in the cruiserweight division since Usyk stays in it. And it's two southpaws who are very well skilled. And both guys have now said they want it. Zurdo said he wanted it after the fight. Not only the fans, but the division of cruiserweight needs Jaya Bataya versus Zurdo Ramirez.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you a secret, dog. I'm gonna tell you something a lot of people are gonna disagree with. Zurdo is going to masterclass Apataya. He's gonna stop Apataya. He's gonna stop him.
Wow, that is a
Yeah,
hot take. Well,
yeah.
I mean, I maybe Jai hasn't. Jerry, what makes you say that, Jerry? Jeez,
Uh,
that came out of nowhere. You're high on Jai.
I'm trolling. Zurdo more than likely gonna get his ass whooped, but I like Zurdo. He's a good kid. He's a good guy, right? He fought Beevil. He started at what, 60, 68, 75, 200. So he's a great guy. I would like to see him win. I probably wouldn't win, unfortunately. I've even proposed some petitions and bills to be passed to leave Jai Apataya alone. That's just a guy. Just leave him alone. I don't like Jai. I like him, but man, he should be charged for several accounts of attempted murder. That's a dangerous guy. I just don't want to see Zurdo go down that. I don't, man. I don't. But it's a big fight. It probably would headline, maybe. Zurdo and CBS headlined in November on the
Yeah, it did
Latino
on
card.
the
Yeah,
Latino card. Yeah,
Latino
so I
night.
guess if it does made it, probably will headline. I guess I was wrong on that. It definitely could headline.
I would like to see. It could be a nice co-main for sure. I'm not complaining. If it's a co-main, it'll be one of the best cards of the year, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Like I think if it was to happen on like a card like Canelo Crawford, it would serve as a co-main. But if it was
Yeah,
to serve like we see Canelo Crawford's a main event on a Riyadh season, like the new boxing on a Riyadh season, really on a Turkey card. But we also see Moses Atama versus Dillian White headline, which is still a great fight. But I feel like that would typically
yeah.
be a co-main event on these Turkey cards. So it all depends where it falls, but it's either a main event or a co-main event, and it's a great fight. Whether you think Jai's way over Zurdo or you think Zurdo could get it done, it's a great fight.
Man, just to speak on the Canelo Crawford card, now that you say that, like if it was to like co-main, I'm kind of with Turkey on this one. I don't think I want another big fight on that card. I think I would like smaller guys. I would like Moulton and Mason and bit smaller guys. He's talked to Nakatani, maybe even a Nakatani tuna, but I wouldn't like to see any big unifications or a big fight. I like to see a very mild, calm card in Canelo Crawford. I would like to see Zurdo and Jai maybe as a standalone or just on a more, I'm not gonna say meaningful card because Canelo Crawford's obviously meaningful, but I don't know, man. I would like to see Canelo Crawford stand on his own 2 feet because it has the power to do so.
Yeah, you actually do make a good point there, and it's on Netflix, so it's going to draw a lot of eyes and a lot of eyes that aren't typically boxing eyes. So I do think if you push the young guns, I think a good fight to be made on that card is the Abdullah Mason versus Sam
And
Noakes
those,
fight,
yeah.
because if Abdullah gets a big knockout and picks up the title, that skyrockets him. I know he's already a big up and coming star to the boxing audience, but that will skyrocket him into a more mainstream audience. And I mean, Turkey just tweeted today it's 4-0 British fighter who's been fighting on like undercards and regional scenes. He tweeted today, I want you on Canelo Crawford. So it does seem that Turkey is building this Canelo Crawford card to be the card of the future. It seems like he wants to push the next generation on this card, which you are right, actually. I do believe that is a smart strategic tactic because they know the eyes that Netflix are going to bring. They're going to bring a lot of not typical boxing eyes. So I do think it would be good to push, the Abdullah Masons, the
Yeah.
Kermel Motons, maybe the Kid Austins. I do tend to agree with you there. I think it would be smarter to if you want to promote the younger guys and really build the next generation, it probably would be smarter to build some of these up and coming, not unknown but lesser known guys on that card.
Yeah, man. I even tweeted at Turk. I said, man, Turk, get me on that card. I guess I'm a bit too old, man. But hey Ian, if Turkey gets back to me, man, me and you, we can meet somewhere and do it. Let's.
Put us on the card. Put us on the card.
I mean, quarter milli. For a quarter milli, we'll do it.
Turkey, I would take a pay cut to be on that card. I would take only three figures. I'll be modest. I would take around $100,000. I
Ah,
won't make you pay too much for me. I'll take a little pay cut to be on that one. I know I'm top dollar, but I'll take a bit of a pay cut to be on that card.
I need the quarter milli, man. I need the quarter milli. I'm,
Jerry's more expensive. Jerry's more expensive than me. But
we
Turkey,
can meet
listen to
somewhere.
me. I'll take the pay cut. I'll take the pay cut for the
Okay,
card.
yeah. Take his 150,000. Put on me. Put it on me. We can meet somewhere, right? You're not a large guy. I'm not a large guy.
I could cut. I could gain. I could to be on the Canelo Crawford card. I wouldn't typically say this, but I guess you could. I would fluctuate just to be on the card with that magnitude. I could
Okay.
fluctuate a little.
And the thing, you're the young guy here, so you're the upcoming talent.
I'm the
And
upcoming guy that's getting their name built. You're already established. Like you
yeah,
don't need you don't need Netflix. You don't need recognition. A guy like me, I'm trying to build my name here. I need the audience, Turkey. Pay me 50,000, Turkey.
eh,
If you give me 50, sure. I want more, but sure. I'm the guy who needs to
yeah.
build his name here, man. I mean, I need the recognition.
I'm the farmer to your Schofield. I'm the one kicking the ladder down for you. Oh man, Turkey. I'm serious. I'll probably tag you in this, but I definitely would not mind fight for 40,000. Hell, I'll be there. But hey, um, anything else? We were talking about Zurdo. We kind of went on a tangent here, but
I think the Mbilli performance, and then I think just Mbilli.
and Billy, I was not able to catch it. Didn't know he fought on a Friday.
Yeah. Friday.
Where at?
Centre Videotron, which is in Quebec. He fought in Quebec, Canada.
Okay, Canada. So that's why I didn't catch it. Friday. What was I doing? I guess we're waiting for the wilder card. And Billy didn't watch it. He dominated. He ran through the guy in the first round. His last fight before this was Derevyanchenko.
Yes, no. It was I think I'm getting my facts right here. It was Mark Heffron, who's a regional, not regional. I don't want to disrespect him like that. Not a world level, but like gatekeeper British fighter. And Billy starched him inside like a minute with a body shot. I think before that it was Derevyanchenko. I might be wrong on that. I might be wrong.
Okay, yeah, you are. He fought a Derevyanchenko, and then before Derevyanchenko was Heffron. Okay,
Damn, it's been that long since a Billy's fought. That was in August of last year. No.
yeah, he's took 10 months off. Well, he fought 3 times last year. He fought in January, May, and August. I don't
That's why I was
know.
a bit surprised. And Billy's more of
Yeah,
an active guy.
yeah. So yeah, that is weird. And he has not fought in America a lot, but I do want to touch
Mm-mm.
on he's now WBC interim, which doesn't mean much. I wouldn't be surprised if I had a WBC interim belt waiting in my mailbox. We've seen, especially at 160, and I love Canelo, but the mandatories don't really mean much there. But it's a potential fight. I don't think it would happen. I know it was rumored for him and Canelo in Japan last December. Um, I think Canelo goes on to do Eubank Jr. and probably Dimitri Bivol for another chance at two-time undisputed. But in Billy Canelo, it is interesting, man. That's a kid, man, with just rockets for gloves, man. It's explosive. That's a guy a lot of fighters don't want to deal with. I think he knocks out Crawford. I think he could potentially beat Canelo if Canelo's not able to weather the storm. That'll be one of the few times Canelo's going to be forced to back up. He's going to have to be really digging his bag, catching shoot, really try to counter beating Billy to the punch. That's a dangerous fight. I mean, I want to hear how you feel about it. Do you stand where I stand? Do you believe he stops Crawford, and how much of a chance do you give him against Canelo Alvarez?
Yeah, and Billy's an interesting case because he has this like Mike Tyson like style, and I've been following in Billy for a very long time now. I think it was March of 2023 he fought Carlos Gongora and damn near got knocked out twice in that fight.
Oh, really?
And I was kind of low on him since then, but since the last couple of performances have really impressed me, and especially this one. He fought Maciej Sulecki, who I know Sulecki's manager and promoter, so I've kind of had a closer eye than most on his career recently. He fought Pacheco in what? He fought Pacheco on the back half of 2024, and it took Pacheco 6 rounds to get a body shot that stopped Sulecki. And Sulecki was live in that fight until the body shot. And then Sulecki returned earlier this year against Ali Akhmedov, who is a very serviceable 168. And Sulecki beat him. Sulecki was the underdog and he beat him. So for Mbilli to step in against Sulecki, who was coming off a win, and do what he did, do him in 1 round, is very impressive. It's a statement performance. And if we're talking Mbilli versus Crawford, first of all, Crawford is never going to take that fight. No, that's not even a dig at Crawford. It's just I think no matter what happens in the Canelo fight, Crawford retires. So I don't, if that fight does happen, I tend to agree. I think Mbilli, sizable, very powerful. I think I would favor an Mbilli stoppage. Him and Diego Pacheco I don't know if it was necessarily ordered, but it seemed that the WBC was, cracking down at making that one for the WBC interim title. And Pacheco's team is the one who went the other way. Pacheco and
Oh,
Matchroom
really?
said, we don't want that right now. Now Pacheco's fighting Trevor McCumbee next month. So when Billy takes this fight, does unbelievably good. Same with Floyd Schofield. Couldn't have had a better fight, couldn't have had a better performance. If we're talking Mbilli versus Canelo, I did watch the fight where Mbilli got hurt multiple times. He's not impossible to, hurt. But I think what Canelo has struggled with, in his career, especially at this age, is activity. We saw it in the Bivol fight. Bivol's one of the most active, getting punches at you, keeping you occupied guys in the sport. Canelo would struggle with the activity of Mbilli, I'm sure. But the difference between Mbilli and Bivol is a stay on the outside and pick you apart type of guy. Even if we're comparing Mbilli to William Skull. William Skull is not nearly as active. That's pretty obvious. There were about under 100 punches thrown from both guys in that fight. But he is an outside guy. And I'm just bringing up Bivol and Skull because those are the two performances Canelo really hasn't looked good in. At his run at super middleweight. I believe that the Canelo and Mbilli fight would spell nothing but fireworks. And I think it does give Canelo more of a chance against an active guy just because it's going to be fought on the inside in the pocket. That a fight like that favors Canelo. But Mbilli is a monster. He really is. Until he gets beat, and I don't want to say figured out, but until he gets beat, he is a monster. And I think going in a Canelo fight with this much momentum that Mbilli has, I'm not going to say I would favor Mbilli, but Canelo on the back end, Mbilli seemingly in his prime, I think it's a nightmare matchup for Canelo. I know it'll be fought on the inside, and that's where Canelo prefers to fight. But as someone who's watched Mbilli for a while, he has improved drastically. He fought a guy named Rohan Murdoch in early 2024 and didn't seem like he could hurt him. And now it looks like his power is, stronger than ever with this performance. So I would still probably favor Canelo if Canelo is to beat, Crawford and this fight gets made. But Mbilli is not only a nightmare matchup for Canelo, he is a nightmare matchup for anybody at 168.
Yeah, the sheer raw explosiveness and athleticism is something to behold, man. It's something to behold. Like I said, Canelo's got to weather the storm. That's a guy you don't want to go out there round one exchange with. You want to sit there. You're going to be forced into the pocket on the inside where you want to be. Like I said, you don't want to exchange. You want to be able to catch some shots. You want to be able to counter them. Canelo's he's gonna have to be better defensively, which I don't think he'll have a problem with. And he's gonna have to land the more meaningful punches throughout that fight. But Canelo's he's an experienced veteran. It's hard to hurt him. I don't think Canelo's that hadn't been hurt in the last 15 years. Basically, it's hard to see a guy as immortal as Canelo at 168 even lose to, I'm not gonna say such a simplistic style, but a guy who's so willing to fight his type of fight and isn't 6 feet tall, 230 pounds, and like a guy like Benavidez. So
it doesn't seem like Mbilli has a lot of layers. It seems like he has a really good layer, but beyond that, it seems like that's all he has.
Canelo has some depth to his boxing game, right? I was just watching the Berlanga Munguia fight back, and I'm seeing Canelo fight out the shell. I'm seeing him throw the jab low, high, flick, power. I'm like, I think a lot of people underrate Canelo's boxing ability. Like if it comes to it, I'm not gonna say Canelo's gonna spend the whole fight on the outside trying to outbox Mbilli, but there's gonna be a lot of instances in that fight where Canelo can transition from the inside more towards the mid range to long range outside and get the better of Mbilli by far, just with the simple jab or even that awkward, deceiving hook he throws. So, I'm with you. Very hard fight for anybody at 68. I think he stops, but Canelo, bit of a coin flip. I'm going with Canelo though on that one.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I do kind of, agree with what you're saying. The only thing I can't get by, and, sue me, this is probably a lot of recency bias, and I try not to get caught up in that, but I can't help it at this point in time. I get so, I think the Canelo that fought Munguia and Berlanga would do pretty much the same thing to Mbilli. It'd be a good, entertaining fight. It'd be, both guys would land, but Canelo would land better, and I could see him hurting Mbilli. I'm not going to lie to you, Jerry. The Canelo versus Skull fight just really blinded all of my judgment that I have on Canelo. Just because I know Skull was pretty much running. I don't like to throw around the word running, but I think it fits here. No offense to William Skull. it's just so hard for me to gauge where Canelo's at, just because of the simple fact that like that's the worst Canelo's looked in. I'm now this might sound like a dumb take, but in my opinion, Canelo looked worse against William Skull than he did against Dimitri Bivol.
It's not ridiculous.
And I'm only saying that because, well, one, we know how great of a fighter Dimitri Bivol is. He proved that. But at least Canelo did land on Bivol. In the early rounds, he was sneaking shots through the guard. It wasn't a lot. It was not a lot of combinations, but he was able to, Bivol, a guy who has proved to be one of the best movers in boxing. You saw it against Beterbiev. He was amazing at, getting out, sticking his shots in there and not getting caught up in the ropes. Canelo was able to get him up against the ropes, especially in those early rounds. And he was able to get him up against the ropes. And, Bivol's got that great tight guard right here. Canelo was able to slip up uppercuts in the middle, uppercuts around the guard. Didn't mean to hit the mic there. But, the William Skull fight, I mean, Jerry, you help me out with this. Should I put as much weight into the William Skull fight as I do? Because I'm going to be honest with you. It's the William Skull fight that makes me think Crawford has a chance against Canelo. Before that, didn't think Crawford could do a single thing. But I can't help. I don't want it to. But this William Skull fight has just clouded my perception of Canelo. And I don't know if I should be putting this much stock into it or if I shouldn't be.
It's a slippery slope, right? People say you're only as good as your last fight. My thing is, what changed between September and May for Canelo? How much could have changed in that time span where he looked really good against Berlanga, he looked really bad against Skull? I don't think much could change, especially a guy he's not too old. He's not 38. When you get to that age, anything could change at that point. You age like milk overnight, but from September to fighting Berlanga to May fighting Skull, I don't think much changed. I think it was an off night. I think the Saudi environment, I hate to blame it on that. Canelo's so much more than that, but he fought at 5 a.m, 6 a.m in Saudi. I think that kind of messed with him a bit. And not so much with his performance, but the mentality. It's like, dog, it's 6 a.m. We over here in the Middle East, and you're just running. Like, this is supposed to be my big break on into this part of the globe, and you're really gonna do this? Like, I think Canelo was just in disbelief. Canelo was like, look, you want to do this? I'm not chasing. Whether I'm getting paid, I'm gonna get the decision. And even after the fight, they quickly had a brief moment, and he's like, dog, what was that? Come on, man, you're not Canelo, man. Come on, man. So I think Canelo was I think Canelo's at a point, I said in the last episode, that Canelo's at a point where he's going to do just enough, right? You throw 10, he's going to throw 13. He's going to do just enough. So when you're doing nothing, he's going to do relatively close to nothing as well. Just enough to scrape by. Just because, like, Berlanga, Munguia, like, he beat these guys 10-2. Even Berlanga, he might have 12-0 Berlanga. But there wasn't never really a point where he's just overwhelming Berlanga. It's really, really close, clear rounds. Like, obviously Canelo won the round, but he's not just beating the hell out of these guys anymore. So I just believe if it's unfair to the fans, but whatever you do, Canelo's going to match that energy. If you want to activate him, you want to go to that place, he'll go there with you. That's why I favor him so much against Crawford. If Crawford turns up the heat, I think Canelo will dial it up a temperature a bit higher, But the Skull fight, man, let it go, Ian. I'm gonna be honest with you, dog. Let it go, man. Come on.
It's just been hard. It's been hard too, man, because I'm such a big Canelo fan. And I remember I was still down at college, and my dad drove down so we could watch our favorite fighter, Canelo, together. And he put on that type of performance. It was disappointing, and you're right. It probably does cloud my judgment a little more than it should. But I don't know. I hope he proves me wrong in the Crawford fight. And I do think what you say is true. He's been doing just enough recently. It seems like since the Bivol fight, before the Bivol fight, knocked out Plant, knocked out Billy Joe, knocked out Yildirim, dominated Callum Smith. After the Bivol fight, scraped by Golovkin, an old Golovkin who Canelo probably could have done a little better against. Scraped by Charlo, didn't scrape by, he's beating these guys convincingly, but during the fight, you're constantly thinking, when's he going to pick it up? When's he going to go for that stoppage? And he never does. So I think it is a fair point to say that he has been scraping by these guys. You know, he's doing what he needs to do. I just pray that he turns it up against Crawford because it's on such a big stage. I hope we get the Canelo who, if he hurts you, he's going for the kill. I just I need a vintage Canelo. I need a pre-Bevel Canelo. You know, the skull fight didn't make me not a fan, of course, but man, it was disappointing.
Yeah.
So maybe I clouded my judgment a little with that one, and I try not to. I try not to, but I feel like I do fall into the phrase "you're only as good as your last fight" a lot. But yeah, I feel like that fight is what has given me hope in Terrence Crawford rather than what Crawford has done for me lately. So I guess factoring that in, you know, it's Crawford isn't really what's convincing me he'll beat Canelo. Canelo is convincing me why Crawford will beat Canelo. So with that regard, I feel like Canelo has got to, if Canelo shows up against Crawford, he will win. It's just, he's got to show up.
Yeah. But man, I'm pretty sure any more topics you wanted to touch on. I feel like we touched a lot. We kind of went on a lot of different routes here. We kind of get off topic a lot. Any other topics you want to touch on before we wrap up today's episode?
I don't got anything specific. Just there were some good undercard fighters on the Mbilli card. Johanna Robio is tremendous. He was Ring Magazine Prospect of the Year nominee last year. Wilkins Matthew, I think the kid's the next Roy Jones Jr. If you haven't checked out the undercard, check it out. Those kids are great. Iowa Tigers got a lot of great guys, but yeah, boxing's in a great spot right now, and there are a lot of good upcoming guys. So make sure to keep an eye on them.
Yeah, man. I appreciate everybody for coming out to the episode. Just to wrap it up, my guy Ian Green on Top Boxing News. Make sure you go on all platforms: YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. This guy's great. He's a great kid, right? That's why he's on here right now. For all my guys who were looking to potentially work with me and Ian, well, Ian is the guy with all the money. He's the one who keeps this ship floating. Ian is going to be getting some more editors. We want a moderator. I would like a female to be the moderator. If you guys wonder if there's a guy who would fit the job, I don't mind that either. Maybe even a producer, but really we need some more editors. I want to start maybe pumping out. I want to get 3 episodes up this week, so I'm gonna need some editors, maybe 2-3 more. Like I said, moderator, producer. I think that's all I got. My animation team, I'm working on that. I think that's all we got.
Yeah,
Social media guys, if you guys know how to work Instagram and all different type of things. I'm getting old, I'm getting lazy, I'm getting tired, so I need you guys to help me out. But that's all we got today on the Late Stoppage Podcast, episode 2. It is, of course, Jerry Jig and my guy Ian Green. I hope to see you guys in the next video.